Good morning. My name is Robert Freeman. What's your name?
I'm Vernon Baker.
Hi, Vernon. So, what brings you on Amtrak today?
I'm on vacation from Phoenix, Arizona, heading to Seattle.
Oh, great, great. Just to give you a little background on what we're doing, we're building an app to help people know who and what to vote for, to make it easier for people to navigate politics, and to hold politicians accountable once they're in office. So maybe you can give me a little bit of feedback on how you go about researching who and what to vote for in, like, let's say the last election.
Well, I think this could be very important actually, because this is a problem that I see is there's not really a lot of good information out there, of real information. And so I try to gauge not so much on what people say, I mean what they do, but sometimes there's not a lot of history on that. I really at this point have relied on who are their supporters. So, and I try to decide if these groups are supporting this particular candidate or this particular cause, how does that align with, and what do I know about this group or these groups or individuals? Does that align with my own particular belief systems and values and because I figure that they probably have more information than I do, even in our internet age when there's a lot of information out there. It's still kind of a happenstance. How much information can you get about a particular issue? And so I really have always, and it's kind of been pretty successful for me. I think it's the best that I have. That who are the supporters, and so then I decide.
So one of the features in our app is called the Trust Matrix, and this is where you choose which sources of information you want to provide feedback into the app. What's an example of an organization that you would look to for information about a candidate?
Um, well, and so again, I tend to look for. I'm thinking more like propositions and different issues like that. Um, So I like the League of Women Voters. I like independent, third-party type candidates. I'm not big on. I'm a Democrat by registration, so I tend to skew that way. But I don't necessarily go by everything they say or everything the Republican Party says. I really like the more independent third-party type groups.
Okay, that's great. So the NRA or the League of Women Voters, those would both be organizations that you could choose to trust as far as getting analysis on your candidates in specific areas. So let's say you want to, if you are pro or against gun rights, you could choose to trust the NRA to do correct analysis on those issues. And then let's say they say this bill supports greater gun restrictions, right? Um, all you're saying is that you trust them to make that determination. But then in the app, you have specified whether or not you want more gun regulations or not. So then that way, you can still trust them to do their analysis, but the ratings that you get back in the app will be based on what you believe in, not what they believe in. So you can trust them to do the research,
Right.
and like you said, so if you are for more gun restrictions, you could still trust them, but just you will know that because they support a bill that you want to vote against a bill. And so
That's kind of how it goes. I kind of have some groups that I follow and some groups that I don't follow, and so if they're supporting it, then that chances are I'm probably going to vote against it.
well, that sounds perfect. So how long would you say it takes you to research ahead of time for a given election?
Oh God, it depends on the election and the number of propositions. Again, I tend to be more of a local interest. Um, but I vote every election, every time. Um, I would say it could be days to weeks. I mean, it takes time to. They do send out the the magazines, that have all the different statements from different sources on what the pros and the cons are. Sometimes I believe those, sometimes I don't. Again, it's a matter of who's making these statements and do I trust them or believe them or not. And yeah, no, I definitely spend quite a bit of time on it, and so more information would definitely be helpful.
That's great. So if you had an app like this on your phone, what kind of information would you want to see on it?
I would want to have a variety of resources and who those groups are, who they really are. There's a lot of groups out there that say, oh, we're the Freedom Caucus or we're the whatever. What does that mean? I don't know. The League of Women Voters, okay, I know who that is. I know what that means. So someone that could really vet these groups and say who their membership is, where their funding comes from. This is frankly a huge problem in politics now, is the money, the dark money, and you don't know where it comes from, and they'll just make up a name. I'm not picking on the Freedom Caucus. I don't even know who that is, but that's just a name that I've heard. And Citizens for Liberty or something. Okay, who is that? I don't know who that is. I would want to know who are they and where does their money come from? Where does their funding come from? Because ultimately, it's my experience that that's what they're about. That's the people that fund them have particular issues and positions, and I want to know what that is, for or against. I don't judge. For my own personal self, everyone has their right to their opinion, but I want to know what they're about. And so that would really be a big part of it is who are they and what are they about and where does their funding come from.
Okay, that's great. So one of the things in the app you'll be able to see is what we call our analyst ratings. So each analyst is rated by the people who trust them, in addition to the people who are also analysts in that area. So the NRA, for example, if a specific analyst from the NRA was providing false information, let's say, then the other analysts in that area could rate them lower. So you'd see they'd have like a 2 or 3 star rating for that particular analyst within the NRA. And likewise, you yourself can become an analyst in the app. And if your friends trust your information that you're providing to them, then you can have a high rating, and then you can expose your information to a broader audience. So that way people can benefit from you doing your research on an issue or candidate, and then you can share that with your friends. So far, what are your ideas on this app, and kind of how would you use it? Would you use it as an analyst? Would you use it as a voter, or just for informational tool?
Probably as a voter, as informational. I don't believe that I have the time and the information, the resources to be an analyst myself, other than from my own personal opinion. But I don't believe there's any such thing as bad information. Or if it's wrong, then that's bad. But as long as it's accurate, true information, whether you like it or not, you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. I believe that everyone should have information, but it has to be good, accurate information. And so I like the idea of if people are going around spreading falsehoods and just out and out lies, then they can be noted as less than reliable, and that would be good to know. Yeah, definitely.
Within the platform, we have what's called an open-minded rating. So that's going to be based on how many different sources of information you choose to trust. So how many different analysts in an area you choose to trust. So if you only trust one analyst, your rating will be rather low. But if you choose multiple analysts, then you'll have a more open-minded rating. So in this way, you'll kind of you'll know in a specific area how accurate your information is going to be. So if you have a really closed-minded rating, your information is based on that one person, right? But if you have a varied sources of information, then your open-mindedness rating is going to be very high. And that's kind of how we solve that issue for you. Kind of the first step in this app is defining your principles. So that's where you rank your principles in order of importance to you. So maybe you could go over what are your top 5 principles and how would you rate them in order of importance?
So I would say openness and honesty, transparency. I don't know if that counts as 3
Transparency, yeah.
Counts as 3 or 1. I think you should just be
That's
open.
That's one area.
One area,
Yeah.
one value, right? Yeah, just being trustworthy and doing what you say. And everyone makes mistakes. That's fine. But being true to your principles, just caring, being about people, being human. I think that that we're all humans, and so yeah, I think that's the only ones I can think of right now.
Yeah. So in our principal areas are larger issue-based categories. So like you would have government corruption is one. You'd have healthcare is one. You'd have national defense is one. So those are the kind of large areas that you would be ordering according to what you believe in. So kind of within that realm, what would your top 5 be?
So healthcare, definitely one. And strong family supports, again, goes back to that human, making sure that we are taking care of our citizens, and that they have opportunities. Education is important. I believe that our country can be stronger by having a more educated population. And I think that's it. Having good food and water, and education, and good jobs. I think if you have good education, I think you'll have more jobs. So.
That's perfect. Just to kind of finish this off, maybe you can just give us a little information about yourself and kind of what you do, and how you feel the future of politics is going to go, with and then without this app.
So I'm from Arizona, a lifelong Democrat. I come from a blue-collar, working-class family. Had an opportunity to go to school and get an education, and it has really changed my life, and really value that, and feel very fortunate to have had that opportunity. And I think I want other people to have that same opportunity that I had. Yeah, I'm not happy with politics. I think they've lost trying to do their job, which is to help this country and the people grow and be stronger. All they care about is their particular political whims of the day, which isn't helping us. And so I want that to stop. So I want candidates that will work for the good of the country and the people, and not for the good of their party. It makes me very angry that they're so focused on this election and getting themselves in office or the other guy out of office. No, we need to be doing what's best for the country.
So currently we're shut down right now, right? So what do you think about that? And who do you think's at fault for this shutdown?
Well, I'm from Arizona, southern Arizona, so I live along the border, have lived along the border. I know what's real and what's not real, and a lot of what's out there today is not real. And so that makes me very unhappy. The shutdown, I'm not a fan of the wall. The wall is a waste of time. I am have lived in southern Arizona. I grew up in southern Arizona. I know what that's about, what the border is about. Most other people in the country do not. They have no clue. And so the wall is going to do nothing. And because we have walls, and it does nothing. I'm an outdoors person, and I grew up along the border and go four-wheeling, and I've been along the border on the border roads, and there's walls there. It doesn't stop anything. That's not the answer. It's a waste of money. And so, yeah, I think people are taking advantage of a situation and striking fear in people that don't really know any better. And so I think if they really knew what it was about, maybe they might feel differently. So yeah, I gotta blame the people that want the wall. I think I don't support it myself, and I've told my Congress people to do not vote for it because it's a waste of money. So, and for that, I blame the people who are, I think, taking advantage of that issue and striking fear in people. Again, like I said, who I don't believe they really understand. Nothing against people from New York and Minnesota and Iowa. I'm sure they're good people. They don't live here. They don't really know what it's like. And so if they did, maybe they would. If they grew up here and lived here, maybe they would feel differently. They would probably say the same about me, that I don't know what it's like in Iowa, and they'd be right. But the border's not in Iowa. The border's in Arizona.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's great insight. So, in the app, you would order, immigration, border security, along with the ability for the government to continue operating, right? So kind of, how would you prioritize those two competing principles?
I don't think it's competing. The government has to operate. That's plain and simple. This is ridiculous to be shut down. So border security is important, but yeah, again, a wall is not the answer. So, in my opinion, and so the government needs to keep running, and yeah, we need to worry about our debt. That would be a big issue for me.
Oh yeah.
The taxes and the debt. I don't support the debt structure that we are incurring now, and so no, the government needs to keep running. It's ridiculous. I work for a local government, and it's not an option for us to shut down the local government. That's kind of where my politics come from. They say all politics is local, right? And that's kind of where my politics has come from. Working in a local government, it's not an option. You have to work together, and you have to figure it out. We don't get to shut down, our jurisdiction.
All right, and so do you think the Democrats in this situation should capitulate just to keep the government running, or should they hold their ground and stay the course and not allow this to go through?
I think they should hold their ground. I told my Congress people, phone calls and emails, I do not support a wall. Now, this issue has taken on a larger issue, a larger perspective. They want to call it the wall. Do we need border security? Absolutely, but there's more to border security than a wall. I have friends that actually work in the border patrol. So again, I have a pretty deep perspective of what that's really like. I have quite a few friends that work on the border in the border patrol, and they're good people. So border security is one thing. If you want to have a discussion, it's really a larger discussion. It's about immigration. It's about border security. It's about the jobs and the economy and working, workers' rights and all that, the right to work. So they want to make it about this one single issue, and it's not. It's a very large discussion, much larger. The immigration policies and border security and all that. This is a huge issue. So to make it about one particular concrete structure, which I don't support, and I've told my Congress people that.
It's not even concrete anymore now. It's iron slats.
Who knows what it is now? It just makes it all the more ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. this is a huge issue. Like most things, we live in a complex world, and people want to distill things down and try to make it simple, but it's not. It's complex. And so,
It is, yeah, because that's really hard for even me to balance. Like, should we give in for this $5 billion, but keep the government running? That's a tough decision for me personally. But you had that's great insight that you had. So kind of, what are your thoughts on the future of politics if an app like this is made available to the public? If people start voting based off of all the information and the accurate information, and hold politicians accountable, how does that change the landscape?
I think it can only get better. We definitely have to do something different. First of all, people have to vote, and I think if that happened, then things would be different. And I understand people's frustration that they don't feel like they're knowledgeable or qualified. So maybe something like this would help people who feel like they aren't qualified to make an opinion. I mean, everyone is a citizen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I'm not the smartest person in the world either. I don't know everything, so I'm wrong. But hey, I do my best. So yeah, I think anything that helps people get information and feel more confident and vote, anything that's going to help people vote. Whatever, if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever, I don't care. Just vote. And then I will respect the will of the people. If 80% of the people are voting and 90% of the people are voting and they vote the way that I don't support, well, okay, then that's fine. I'll support that because the majority have their way, have their say. But when 30 or 40% of the people vote and it's some minority that controls, then no, I don't support that.
Great. It was great talking with you today. My name is Robert Freeman, and I'm the founder of VoteMatrix. So we're on the Whistle Stop tour through this entire month. I'm on the train going across the nation. We're talking to people about the app and recruiting investors. So if you know anybody who's interested in helping us build this app, it's $1,030 right now. So the shares prices go up throughout the trip. But by the end of the trip, we plan to have the app fully funded. And then the development cycle will go all the way through 2020 for an app release in 2020, hopefully in time for the election.
Look forward to it.
So great. It was great talking with you, and
Thank you.
Have a great trip.
Thanks.